Good morning from Shimonoseki, Japan. I'm still Jeremy. This is my hotel, and I am here in Shimonoseki, which is the far southwestern corner of Honshu. And in this video, I'm just going to walk around Shimonoseki, basically as a backdrop for talking to the camera, to explain to you why I'm here and to talk about the upcoming trip, which begins tomorrow. It's a vast, vast trip. I've never done anything like it in Japan. I've never traveled this far in Japan, and it all begins tomorrow. But these are the parameters and the rules and the details of the trip itself, while looking at hard scrabble, rough little Shimonoseki here. Okay, so this is a big, long train trip I'm doing. And just to sort of make sure everybody understands exactly what Japan is like, there are about 14,000 islands that make up Japan, which of course includes the four main ones. And the main one is called Honshu. It's the big center island. The biggest thing you notice with Japan, it's the one with Tokyo and Osaka and Kyoto and Hiroshima and everything on it. Honshu means kind of mainland, or the homeland. And if you look at a map of Japan, like a world map, Japan will look kind of small because it's right next to gigantic China and Russia, and Australia is not too far away, and the Pacific Ocean is right there, and Japan just looks like this tiny little thing kind of crammed up into the corner. And it is, in a way. But if you forget all that, just look at just Japan itself, especially Honshu, it's actually quite big and quite extensive. This space here looks like bombed out space. It says fish market. The Real Fish Market. Now it's just a big room full of trash. Not a good look, Shimonoseki. Wow. So if you want to go from here, the far southwestern corner, up to the far northeast corner of Honshu, you could do it. I could get on a Shinkansen right here and take the bullet train over to Osaka, change to one to Tokyo, then change to one up to Aomori, the north tip of Honshu, and I could do that. The whole thing would take less than 9 hours. Could do it in a day. I could leave at 8 in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning, and I could be in Aomori in time for dinner. So in that sense, Honshu's not that big. So that's the route I'm going to take, but I'm not going to take the Shinkansen. I'm not going to fly up there, which would probably be even faster and maybe cheaper than the Shinkansen. I'm riding trains from here in Shimonoseki all the way up there, but local trains only. No Shinkansen, no express trains, only the local trains, which are the trains that stop at every single station, every single little rural station on the way. It's going to be significantly longer than a 9-hour trip. So there are lots and lots of train lines in Japan, of course. Many stations. And traveling on local trains means you just go at a more normal human pace. And you see everything. You stop at every station, you look at the local area, you see the local people getting on and off the train, if any. So it is a very slow and inefficient and interesting way to see Japan. And there are kind of various things to understand about the way the trains work here, and some rules I have for my trip that are going to dictate what I see and where I go. So the thing about local trains is, whereas an express train or a Shinkansen might go kind of a long geographic distance, not stopping at too many stations, but a long way, most local trains on most local lines, they don't go that far. Maybe 10 or 20 stations, and then they come back. They kind of do short little routes here and there, back and forth. So this trip will be the whole trip will be piecing together little segments like that. Another thing is that route finding apps and GPS things and like that, they don't, none of them that I've ever seen, have a local trains only option, because they're all built for efficiency to get you wherever you're going fastest. So I can't just go, I want to go here from here today to over here, and how many train lines do I need to take to get that on local trains only? Doesn't work. They're not going to tell me. They're going to tell me the express train or whatever. So I have to piece all this together myself by looking at train schedules on the web, writing everything down, cross-referencing, cross-checking. So the thing about that is that when I get off one train, when I take one train to its end point and I get off at that station and wait for the next one that'll take me further, that might be a changeover of 2 minutes. Sometimes they coordinate them, sometimes they don't, and I might have to be there for half an hour or an hour or 2 hours, or hopefully no longer than 3 hours at the most, but hopefully on average not too long. And that will give me opportunities kind of built into the trip to get out and wander around and see some of the station areas. So it's kind of up to fate where I actually end up going, where I actually end up investigating whatever local station, or maybe not so tiny station. Sometimes it'll be at a bigger station, but there should be a good mix, kind of a natural mix, naturally mixed into the trip parameters. I need to point out that I'm not actually getting off the train at every single station. That would make the trip take 2 or 3 years, literally. I'm just going to go as far as my train will go while stopping at every single station. So it's about the pace. It's about getting a look at the station, even if only sitting on the platform for a minute and looking around at what happens there when we stop. Here's some kind of office building or school or something. Former office building or former school. All grown over and shut down now. A lot of that seems to be happening in Shimonoseki. Wonder what it was. What happened to it? Now, even with this stopping at every single station, local trains only, you could do that probably from here up to the north. You could probably do that in 4 or 5 days maybe, if you started first thing in the morning, first train in the morning at 5:45 or whatever those are, and then go all the way to the last train of the night, get 3 or 4 hours of sleep, get up and do it all again. You could probably do it in, less than a week. You wouldn't get much sleep, but you could probably technically do it. But the way I'm doing it, it's not a race. I'm not trying to see how fast I can do it. I'm not trying to choose the most direct routes, so I'm not trying to, set a speed record for doing this, but I'm also trying to not take forever because it's expensive. Japan is fairly cheap when it comes to food and hotels, the type of hotels I stay in, but still, doing this for, several weeks gets pricey. So there's kind of a time limit. There's certainly a budget, constraint, but I'm not trying to rush through. I'm trying to actually stop and see things. So the basic structure of the trip, as I see it, is to travel one day on trains. I'm going to start sort of early in the morning, maybe 7 or 8 or 9 in the morning, 7 or 8 maybe. And I'm going to try to finish up by 5 or 6 p.m. because that will be 9 or 10 hours of having been on trains. I'll be ready for a break by then. And also it starts getting dark and there's nothing to see and there's nothing to film, and that's kind of boring. I want to see everything. So right about 5 or 6, I will plan to be in the next place where I'm going to stay in a hotel. So just be getting little cheap little business hotels and stuff along the way. And at each place I stay in a hotel, I want to stay there for 2 or 3 nights, which will give me enough time to relax a little bit, to see the area, go out one day and just look at the area without riding any trains, and also to do some editing for videos. So I'll be doing that along the way. That's pretty cool looking. And most importantly, to plan the next leg. I don't have all this planned out beforehand. So each day when I'm in a hotel, I'm going to plan the next day, and that's it. Not planning too far ahead. Not planning ahead at all. And when I do that, I will have my options for, sometimes I'll have options. 2 or 3 lines will branch off, and I have to choose one. And as I said, it's not a race. I'm not trying to find the exact most efficient way, but as long as the tracks are reasonably overall headed towards my goal, headed north and east most of the time. I will probably prioritize lines that I've not been on before, which will be easy in the last half of the trip because I've never been to that area of Japan, Tohoku. I'll try to alternate between seaside railways or coastal railways and like ones that go through the mountains. There are, of course, 2 coasts to the Honshu Island, the north side and the south side, so I can maybe zigzag between them if the lines kind of work out. Most of the trip will be on, I would imagine, most of the trip will be on JR lines, which is Japan Rail, which used to be the kind of government-owned, nationalized rail system until the 1980s, and then it broke off into some private companies, but they're kind of quasi-private, and they're still considered sort of like a national rail system, and they're by far the most extensive system. So when I can, I would like to break off from that and ride a little regional railway. So here's a map, and the blue lines are the Shinkansen lines. So those are obviously out for my purposes. The white lines, those are all the JR lines, and the yellow lines are all the private railways. So sometimes those will work out, and if I can do it, I will ride those just to see more railways. Another main point, which is kind of an odd one, but please understand this part. This is not a way to string together all the greatest hits of Japan. That's not the point. I'm not choosing lines because they go to Mount Fuji or whatever. It's a bad example, but whatever. I'm not trying to say, well, this line that has more tourist infrastructure and this line leads to this famous site. It's not about that. It's more about the lines themselves. So if you know about Japan or know some things in Japan, you might be kind of surprised that I chose this line instead of this line when this line goes to the famous temple or whatever. And that's just kind of how it goes. It's a free kind of thing, and it's really about the trains. So one side effect that this trip will have was that it will kind of show me some places that I don't get to go to on this trip, but I might want to come back and investigate in more detail later. Because I have not been to most of the places I'm going on this trip. Certainly not the second half of the trip. This tree is kind of in the spirit of being cut into circles, but not actually. Those are some pathetic circles. So as for how long all of this is going to take, if I stop at 6 o'clock p.m. every day, and if I stay 3 nights in each place to give myself 2 days there, 2 full days to explore and to plan and to edit video, then I estimate it'll take roughly 4 weeks, about a month, to do this whole trip. If it turns out to be more expensive than I thought, or if I don't need that much time, then I can maybe go at a little faster pace somehow. If things are okay and I would like a little extra time off in a place, maybe I'll stay 4 or 5 nights there. It's all kind of up in the air, but about a month is what I think. And also, I think it would probably take, that's for the traveling. As far as actually making all the videos from it and putting those on YouTube, 1 video per week, that will probably take a good 3 months. So the next 3 months of my channel is going to be this trip. Pinky. 18,000 yen and 23,000 yen. The sign in the window says companion. I think we've hit kind of the dodgy girls bar part of town. Another thing that people often mention to me in my comments is, why don't I use train passes? Because you can save money, you just get a pass and you get unlimited rides on wherever for however long a time. And the reason is because people say that, but it actually rarely works out for me. What they usually mean is once you get a JR pass, which is something that requires a tourist stamp and a passport, and I don't have that because I'm not here on a tourist visa. So I'm not eligible for it. Nobody that lives in Japan is eligible for it. There is something called, I think it's called an 18 pass, because it used to be available to only people under 18. Now it's available to everybody, but it's for unlimited travel on JR trains, on local trains, within a certain period. Sounds great, but there are now two versions, a 3-day and a 5-day. And since I'm be taking time off between my days, the costs of those, which are 10,000 and 12,000 yen respectively, makes it not work. An extremely abandoned bicycle. I've roughly planned the first day, which starts tomorrow, and that should be about 3,300 yen or something worth of travel. So I would have to do, if I got the 5-day pass for 12,000 yen, I would have to travel 4 of those days at least to make it work out, and it just doesn't work out. Sometimes it does work out. I recently, can I go in here? Cool little harbor, by the way. My hotel is that kind of big tan building over there. I've been watching the harbor from my hotel room since last night. Recently I was on a line called the Sangi Railway, and then I rode the Hokusei Railway, and both of those had passes that worked out. It's like 1,200 yen, and it's unlimited rides on those lines, and I was going to get off and on a whole bunch of times, so it worked out, saved me money. But normally for trips like I'm doing here, there's no pass that works out. Even when there are passes that would work out, they're so constricting, and I want to just be free, and they don't save money anyway. So no passes, I'm just paying the normal fares. Don't know if I've ever had a twofer before, a couple, both the man and the woman, with carts. But one of them is an Oba-chan. Okay, well I think that about covers everything. I'm sure I forgot a bunch of stuff, but anyway, the main points, in case you've forgotten long ago in my ramblings in this video, are from here, the southwestern part of Honshu, all the way across Honshu, using local trains only, little tiny individual lines, piecing together little segments myself, stopping for 2 or 3 days in each spot at each night, and then taking about a month maybe to get all the way up to Aomori and the northeastern, you know when I say southwest and northeast, you know what I mean. Southwest to northeast is how Honshu works. So that's the deal. It's going to be lots of videos. Every train day will be a video. When I get to explore the place I end up at the end of every train day, that will be a video. So lots of videos coming from this trip. It will take me months to get all this done, and months for you to watch it all. That's the exciting part. So please follow along if you want to. If you want to follow along in more detail, you can do that on my Patreon. And thanks for watching this. And also, by the way, I think the real scene stealer here of this video is not me talking, but it's the bizarre town that is Shimonoseki. A lot of places like this coming up, I think. I'm looking forward to it. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you at the next video, day 1 of the actual trains. Wait a minute, seeing these trees here, which I'm going to stretch and count as trees cut into circles, I forgot to check over the checklist today on this small little walk. Not a whole lot, but saw some things, saw more things than I thought I would. So here we go. Abandoned bicycle, interesting statue or figurine. Motor scooter, obachon with cart, notable bird, no birds at all, not even floating in the water. Cartoon drawing on sign, graffiti, hair salon, tree cut into circles, thank you. Car elevator, beer vending machine. Okay, now we can finish the video. Thanks to my patrons on Patreon, and special thanks this week in random order to Ray Nichols, Samantha, David Richley, Russell Davis, Thomas G. Ritchie, Matt Kane, and Will Phillips. Thanks for wandering around Shimonoseki with me. Everywhere is worth exploring.